Good morning and welcome to a rather obviously titled segment, In Conversation With. This segment is specially designed to showcase the backstories and journeys of individuals who have made an impact in their fields of expertise. Luminary Learning Solutions crafted this segment to offer you the advantage of drawing inspiration for your own personal journey. I'm Anton Thayalan, the Chief Evangelist and host this hour, and we will take you through an hour of free-flowing discussion. For today's segment on In Conversation With, it is my privilege to introduce Jon Ferrara. Jon is a serial entrepreneur and a noted speaker about social media's effects on sales and marketing. He has reimagined CRM by building the simple smart CRM for Microsoft Office 365 and G Suite with Nimble. It is the first CRM that works for you by building and updating contact data for you, then works with you everywhere you work. Jon is best known as the co-founder of Goldmine Software Corp, one of the early pioneers in the Salesforce automation and customer relationship management software categories for small to medium-sized businesses. He has recently been recognized by Forbes as one of the top 10 social CEOs, top 10 social salespeople in the world, and top 100 marketing influencers. Well, on that note, good morning, Jon, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Anton. I really appreciate the opportunity to join you in a conversation that I hope inspires and educates others about how they might achieve their dreams in life. And I think that a big component of achieving your dreams is building the right relationships that help you do it, because nobody can do anything on their own. And I think that we all need to think about building a sustainable garden of people around us that help us achieve our dreams. And the best way to achieve your dreams is to help other people achieve theirs.
So true, and thank you for kicking us off with that statement. Very powerful, inspirational indeed. Jon, just interesting that you did mention service, and customer service drives performance and people drive service excellence. What I am looking at is that a true statement? Is there a correlation between service quality and profitability?
Well, absolutely. Just think about where you choose to spend your money, where you choose to spend your time. I could cite examples of stores like Nordstrom's. Sure. Nordstrom's is a store in the United States that specializes in high quality service. Now, they charge much more for their products, but people are willing to pay for that in order to get the experience. On the other hand, there's companies like Amazon that have really removed any friction from buying. And you see the world marching to the door because they are reimagining the customer journey. And so I think that any company out there today needs to think about the holistic customer journey that their constituency are on. And I say constituency because it's not just customers and prospects that your company needs to engage in order for it to grow its business. Like I said earlier, you need to build a sustainable garden around yourself to achieve your goals, but also around your business as well. And so think of the customer journey as this entire constituency of human beings that surround your business. And it's your job to engage and delight across all areas of that journey. It doesn't end with the sale. I think that the biggest problem with sales, making it a four-letter word that most people hate, is that it's all really related to bagging and tagging customers, and that much of the reward of a business is to the salespeople for closing the deal. But commissions, closing the deal doesn't end the customer journey. It really starts the customer1journey because you need to deliver on your promises, which means customer service. So I think that service is the new sales, and that if employees were compensated on the success of the customer as opposed to closing the customer, that we would keep more customers.
That interesting point, John. Thank you for that. So, interesting that you did mention about the service experience, right? And so we always talk about the consistent level of performance. We talk about consistent levels of customer service delivery, right? But what makes me wonder is, in reality, great examples, by the way, but in reality, does that matter? Because if you really look at it, customers, the way I would see it is, customers are kind of fickle, right? People will switch. I mean, you enjoy this great service at a hotel, fantastic, you really, really like it. And then comes a promotion or something that says, X hotel, a competitor maybe, is 40% less. And you will see people quickly switching and going into that particular hotel instead of this. Now, at that point, all the experience that you've provided, the entire value for customer is kind of lost, because loyalty doesn't come into play at that point in time.
I'll actually argue against that.
Okay.
So as an example, I frequent certain hotel chains more often than others. There are times when I will take advantage of a deal, but in many cases, saving money on a night at a hotel could deliver an experience that is suboptimal. But certain chains, certain brands always deliver consistency for me. And I'll give you, a brand. There's the Four Seasons or the Fairmont Hotel, or there's certain chains that really, the Ritz-Carlton. There's certain chains that have a certain level of service that is expected and usually delivered. I believe if you can align the promises you make to the experience that you deliver, that you could build a gold mine. And I know a thing or two because I've built gold mines before. And so I'll argue that it's the consistency of service that keeps customers coming back. I'll give you another example. There's a restaurant in my town that if you ever come to Santa Monica, I want to take you to. It's called Hillstones. It's also called Houston's. It's a chain of restaurants in the United States. And I eat at this restaurant more often than any other restaurant in Santa Monica because of the consistency of not just the service, but the atmosphere and the food. And I know I can go into any Hillstones or Houston's. They're effectively the same thing. They just rename them for tax purposes. The consistency is unmatched, and that is because they are committed to the customer journey. They train their team members, they compensate them. I'll give you an example. How many times you've gone to a restaurant where you sat down and nobody's even come by to do anything for you? You're just sitting there waiting, right? Or you order and you just don't know where your food is, or maybe you need another spoon or a glass of water, or you need something, right? And
there's no one around.
There's no one around. Now, your server's not around, but there's other servers that may be walking by, but you don't really feel comfortable asking them. At Hillstones/Houston's, everybody works as a team, and they're always checking on all the customers. And if you need anything, they work collectively together to make that happen. And I believe that teamwork is really the solution, the key to business success. Because it's teams that wins games. It's teams working together. And I think the biggest mistake people make at companies is they think that it's just prospects and customers and just sales and marketing that makes it happen. But in reality, there's a whole set of people and departments that your constituency will touch at your company. And that's why I think it's so critical that every company has a team relationship manager that enables the whole team to manage all of the constituency that the company connects to. Here's an example. At Nimble, we just don't connect to prospects and customers. We connect to editors, analysts, bloggers, influencers, third-party developers, investors, advisors, and prospects and customers, and their influencers as well. And it's not just, one group that does it. We all participate in that. And the biggest problem that businesses have is that their business systems are silos. So there's the sales, marketing, customer service, and accounting systems. And then they have the contact system, which is usually G Suite or Office. And none of these things are really tied and connected together. Now you have prospects and customers in the CRM and the marketing system, but basically they don't talk to the accounting system or the contact system. So there's no single system or record of truth in a company that no matter who picks up the phone, they can see who that person is, what the history of interaction that the team has had, what's going to happen and who's going to do it, so that they could be effective together. And I think that that's really the key for business success is effective relationship management. But the problem is if you look at the word CRM, it stands for customer relationship management, but it's really more a reporting system on leads and prospects. And we've sort of forgotten about the real value of relationships. And I think it's those relationships that are built that sustain businesses, which gets me back to Houston's. I have a relationship with Houston's. I love this business. I show my love by showering them with my money and my time, but also I tell other people about it. And that's what you want. You want to turn your constituency into your storytellers. And if you could do that, if you could turn the community around you into storytellers for your business, then you don't have to talk about your products and services. In fact, stop talking about your products and services. Nobody cares. People don't buy great products. They buy better versions of themselves. And if you want to grow your business, start talking about how you can help other people achieve their dreams, how you can help other people become better, smarter, faster. Make them the hero of your storytelling and turn them into your storytellers.
Thank you for clarifying that. We've had various segments and we've never had anyone talk about customer service at that. And I like the way you've connected the whole customer service experience, the relationship building, to how the systems and software helps that. So Nimble does that, and I understand how Nimble works with the different vendors and customers and kind of brings the whole package into one easily accessible service point, for want of a better way of putting it. Jon, and I've been wanting to ask this, right? And two things though. You mentioned the restaurant Houston. Do they serve salmon?
Yes, they do, and I love it. It's probably my favorite dish that they make. Salmon is very forgiving because it's got a lot of fat, a lot of oils in it. But if you overcook salmon, it becomes like a shoe leather, right? And so what you want to do to cook perfect salmon is lightly season it with salt and pepper. And then ideally you paper dry the salmon so it doesn't have a lot of wetness on it, because that'll cause the salmon to curl up when you put it in the pan. So you get the pan to medium hot, you put a little bit of oil in the pan, and you put the skin side down, and you don't touch it because the skin is bonding with the metal, and if you move it too quick, the skin will break off. And if you dry with a paper towel, then it won't curl up. And then what happens is once it becomes pink about halfway through, you flip it for about a minute, and the internal temperature will be at about 125 Fahrenheit, and it'll be medium rare in the center but crispy on the outside. This is what Houston's does every time. And I love their salmon.
I've got to say, you're passionate about salmon as well as Houston, but I will come back to you on that though. But interesting that you stressed so much on relationship and customer service, Jon. How did you get into the business of customer service? I mean, what's the story there?
Well, I was inspired by my father, who was in the automobile business. He was the #1 Lincoln Mercury salesperson in the country in the 1950s.
Wow.
And then in the 1970s, he had the first Subaru dealership in California. And I grew up on his car lots, and I saw the way he engaged with people, not just in his business, but really everywhere he went. No matter where my father was, at the supermarket, at Sears, it didn't matter. He would be present with other human beings. He'd connect to them. He'd take a moment to give them the gift of his presence and at least a smile. And I saw how it moved people. They loved my father, and I saw that that relationships are really key to our lives. And as I became an entrepreneur and started my own company, I did so because I was put in the role of a salesperson, and I needed to manage my leads and prospects, and there was no tool to manage contacts. So this was before Outlook existed, before Salesforce existed, before the term CRM or contact management existed. And I wanted a program to not only enable me to manage my contacts, but for me to manage my contacts with my team, because I had a district remote office of 15 people that included systems engineers and salespeople and sales managers and secretaries that were all interacting with the customer. And then I had people back at corporate that interacted with the customer. And I wanted a tool that integrated email, contact, and calendar with some sales and market automation. I couldn't find it, so I started Goldmine, and I pioneered that whole industry. And after selling Goldmine, after 10 years of great success, I got a head tumor and I almost died. And in the process of healing, doing the sort of the Western and spiritual work to heal, I did some deep spiritual work, and I came to the conclusion of my purpose on this planet. And I think that in the brief blink of an eye that I will be on this planet, that I'm here to do my best to grow my soul. And I do that best by being present with other people and helping them grow their soul. And you just rinse and repeat. And that is basically my purpose on this planet. And really, it is really centered about relationships, because if you are truly present with the people that love you, they will reflect your shit back at you. And if you're willing to look at your shit in life and work on it, that's how you grow as a human being. And so I think that the more people that I help grow, the more I grow. And it's really centered around relationships, clear, present, connecting with others.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, what I'm keen is, okay, so you did pick up Goldmine, or you created the CRM system through Goldmine based on the need. But what were the challenges for you as an entrepreneur venturing into something as unique as that?
Well, manyfold. I think the biggest challenge was, how do you sell people something that they don't know they need? So if you're pioneering a category, so when we built Goldmine, it was back in the DOS days. I don't know if you know what DOS is, but it stands for Disk Operating System. Yep. It was essentially when computers just started, the IBM PC, and there were no graphics. And so back in those days, networking was just in its infancy. And what that means is people were buying PCs and putting them on desktops, and then they needed to share printers and hard drives because they're expensive. So they developed networks to tie these PCs together so they could share the printers and hard drives. Well, once they were sharing printers and hard drives, they wanted to share applications, but the applications back then were written for single user computers. And so they developed something called file record locking that enabled you to share an application across multiple PCs on a network, but there was no network business software. So essentially, I was in the networking software business. I was a sales rep for Banyan, which was a competitor to Novell, which were network operating systems for PCs back in the day. And I knew that network software was the future, and I knew that managing relationships were going to be critical to business success. And so I started a company to do that. But I'm in an apartment in Los Angeles. We got $5,000 in the bank. It's my co-founder and myself. We've got the program written. How do you sell it? I can't advertise. For one thing, I don't know how to advertise. Number two is I don't have any money to advertise. So how do I sell people something they don't need if I can't access them? So one of the things I learned was small businesses, you can access small businesses through their trusted advisors. And the trusted advisor of small businesses back in those days was the network reseller that sold them the network. Those were the Novell resellers. And so what I did is I picked up the phone and I contacted all the Novell resellers in the United States, and I got them to use Goldmine because people sell what they know and they know what they use. They started to resell it, and that's how we were able to start Goldmine without taking any venture capital, without taking any bank loans, and on $5,000, growing it to $100+ million a year in revenue.
And an amazing journey at that. So once you got Goldmine into that status, you let go of it, you sold it off, and then you decided to retire, right? And from what I've heard a little earlier on, you're clearly passionate about salmon, and the way you described the preparation tells me that you could have easily picked up a cookery show. You could have ventured into doing any number of things, but for some reason you decided to come back into the industry after what, nearly 10 years?
Yes,
I took Nimble.
I took 10 years off, and the main thing I did in those 10 years, I did a number of things. The main thing I did was I was a present father and husband to 3 beautiful children and my wife. And I think that was a precious gift that few men are able to get, that most men aren't really ever able to be present with their children or even their wives, because we're all out there hustling. We're all out there doing our best to build something for our families, and we feel obligated to do that. So we work our butts off, and you know, we come home late and we leave early and we get glimpses of our family. And I was able to get my kids up and take them to school and read in the classroom and nice. Do all the things that that most dads don't really get to do, and it humbled me. It really did. It made me appreciate what my wife and all women do in this world. It's not easy to be a parent. It's much easier, I think, to go to work. But also, I grew as a human being because of that. I think that if you're really around children, it really forces you to grow, because they reflect your shit best back at you. And the other thing, the other thing I did is I went to school and I studied photography, because I wanted to first just take a class and take better pictures of my children. But then I also wanted to explore the artistic side, because I was always a math computer science major, and I love art and beauty. So I studied photography, and then I shot football for some period of time, and that was fun. But what I was really passionate about was people. And as I started to use my kids were in school, and I started to use social media in 2006, 7, and 8, and I saw how it's going to change the way we work, play, buy, and sell. And I started to look for a relationship manager that would enable me to connect the conversations that I was having on social media in Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn to the people I was connecting and building relationships with, because I was making these connections in social media, but I wasn't having a place to put those contacts and tie those conversations to people. And I knew from my experience in relationship management that if you don't organize them, that they're not as effective. There's something called the Dunbar limit. It's the guy in England that basically did a study, and you can only manage 100 to 200 people in your head at any one time. And if you use social media properly, in that you build identities in all the places where your prospects and customers and their influencers are having conversations, you share content to inspire and educate them on a daily basis about how you might help them become better, smarter, faster, and you listen and engage with those people to take those connections and conversations into relationships, you'll have tens of thousands of connections. So how do you manage that? And so I looked around for a tool to do it. I saw that G Suite was not really good at contact management, because email, contact, and calendar are 3 separate programs and they weren't tied to social. And I saw that CRMs weren't about relationships, they were more about reporting. So I basically decided to get back in the business and build Nimble as the first relationship manager that was really centered on the social conversations that you could be having and the email that you do it in. And so it was really my own need that got me back in the business. But ultimately, I felt like I wasn't done serving others, because one of the reasons I built Goldmine and the reason I built Nimble was to help other people build the relationships they need in order to achieve their dreams. And if I can build Nimble into a platform that serves tens of millions of people around the globe, sure, I'll feel like I've done what I need to do.
Wow, that is an interesting story indeed. So now that you've got Nimble, a successful business, what's next for you, Jon?
Well,
I must ask.
I think that today people still don't really understand the philosophy of business or sales. I think that people still think of customers as numbers and as sales as basically as much money as you can make, or even entrepreneurship. And what I want to do is to teach others that really service is the new sales, that life should be about the we instead of the me, that you're not here to make money, but memories out of moments, because they're not going to write on my gravestone, invented CRM, made hundreds of millions of dollars. They're going to write on my gravestone, beloved father, friend, husband, whatever, right? And so I want to build tools that power other people to achieve their dreams, but more importantly, to inspire and teach these people that their dreams shouldn't be centered on money, but on service and their own growth by helping others with their growth.
And amazing, amazing stuff. Thank you very much, Jon, for that insight. So is there a, and I'd kick myself if I don't ask this question, and I did promise Michaela that I will venture into this. Is there a cookery show in the horizon for Jon Ferrara?
No, I don't think so. I do love to cook. It's aligned to my concept of service, but I think if you do what you love for the love of it, it's different than doing it for the money. And so I'd love to cook. I'd be happy to cook for you, but I wouldn't do a show out of it because it would turn it into a money thing as opposed to a love thing.
I like that. I like that. So I hear, but I will reach out to get some recipes, because I hear you've got some fantastic recipes up there.
And I'd love some of yours as well. I love I love to learn to cook new things.
Oh, why not? Right, Jon, thank you for that. So we were in conversation with Jon Ferrara, the CEO and founder of Nimble, the award-winning social sales and marketing CRM for individuals and teams, the simple, smart CRM for Office 365 and G Suite teams. And they do specialize in entrepreneurship and product innovation, brand and identity development, marketing and sales strategy. They manage global 350 plus person corporations. And this was an hour designed to bring inspiration through the backstories of modern day icons. Jon, thank you so much for carving out a moment in time from your undoubtedly busy schedule. We really do appreciate that.
Thank you, Anton. It was my pleasure.
And I can honestly say this hour has been a thrilling ride. What stories, and certainly an amazing takeaway of inspiration. There is never an age for learning. There is so much you can do if you really want to go out and do it. So do watch our social media spaces for the link to join in. This conversation will be up on our YouTube channel. So do visit, subscribe, and hit the notification button to stay updated, and remember to share. So with this, I bid you a wonderful rest of the day. Stay safe, stay productive.